Hey guys, and welcome back to the Geek Box, and welcome to today's top 10 list. We'll be doing top 10 best gaming villains. This came to me after, the release of the new Sonic the Hedgehog film trailer and seeing Jim Carrey playing the original version of Robotnik, which you can just find for a link up here above. But it got me thinking what my favourite gaming villains were, and such iconic characters that are just as iconic, if not more than, the actual heroes in some of the games sometimes. So here's a list of the top 10 best gaming villains.
Jill!
Brad!
We've got to... Jill! Help!
Starting us off at number 10 is Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. Now, Resident Evil is a bit of a tough choice because I could pick from Nemesis, Tyrant, hell, I could even pick from Tyrant himself. But the most iconic one for me out of all of them is always Nemesis. From the first time you hear that growling stars, all the way through to every battle you have with him, being chased around the whole of the city by him, Nemesis installed fear like no other creature had before. Watching him chase you around as well with a rocket launcher of all things, along with his minigun, you couldn't just run away, you had to think and plan, and it really added to the suspense and the horror that Resident Evil 3 brought to the series. So Nemesis stuck to me as one that could live not only as a great gaming villain, but also something you could possibly live in your nightmares.
Wait! How did he find me?
You burn with guilt, don't you?
For the pain I have caused others, yes.
Compassion is for fools. Fight!
Shao Kahn of Mortal Kombat. Now, anyone who's played through the majority of the Mortal Kombat series will be more than familiar with the Soul Stealer himself, Shao Kahn. Obviously, as an iconic symbol of bad guys and villains that they have in games, you play fighting games, Shao Kahn always stood out as a vital part of the series, always being a part of what drove the story between the other world and the human realm. Well, Shao Kahn was just an iconic piece of Mortal Kombat memorabilia and a villain in his own right that had such a great story that brought everything together that he has his own iconic mark on the villains of the gaming world. And moving on to the man himself mentioned at the beginning of the video, Dr. Ivor Robotnik, or just Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman, depending on what version you're going with, but the bad guy of the entire Sonic series, and sometimes the ally of Sonic, this absolute madman genius who is hell-bent on turning every single creature in the whole of Mobius, or Earth, or whatever planet is put on, into his robot slaves, was always the simple bad guy that come back with invention after invention after invention to the Sonic series. And he basically always had a different thing to give you at the end of each battle, which made you have to think with a new tactic or plan. And even if he wasn't facing you himself, one of his robots would be there to fight you. Dr. Robotnik is an iconic character, and even people that don't play games can generally see a picture of this man and know who it is, or at least what he's attached to.
Oh, I've waited a long time for this!
Then we go on to Bowser, the bad guy of the Mario series. Now obviously he's not been the bad guy in every Mario game and has actually joined Mario on a number of occasions for different things like games and when the story has needed it, but he had to be placed just a little higher than Dr. Robotnik, as people are much more familiar with Bowser, as Mario had a much higher level of success than the Sonic series. So Bowser generally appearing at the end of the level and putting himself in some really, well, shall we say, silly scenarios where it's very easy to beat him with what's around him, just as like the old classic drawing the axe out to drop the bridge. But Bowser is an iconic symbol for gaming villains that people can notice very easily and will draw themselves to if they see it on a poster or a game, etc. So he had to have a place in this list just for the fact that he is, there's that word again, an icon of the gaming villain world.
I've got a perfect spot all picked out for you. And you don't want to? That's fine. Call the Hyperion Suicide Prevention Hotline and you'll get nothing. But if you want a huge reward, you jump off that cliff and become my bitch. Take your time.
Handsome Jack of Borderlands. Well, if you've got cunning, some looks, and you want to be an all-time bad guy around the entire world, why not make sure that people literally know you as Handsome Jack? The driving force behind Borderlands, as people hunting him down as well as searching for the vault. Handsome Jack added a whole depth of character to the game that people could really get behind, and you could either get left with liking the guy or want to blow his face clean off. But either way, Handsome Jack was a great development character that's run through the Borderlands series and really helped shape what that game is.
Death out there? No, probably not. Bandits will get you first. My day? Been pretty good. Just bought a pony made of diamonds.
Oh, there's no way out for us. Let's finish this before the airstrike.
Liquid Snake of the Metal Gear Solid series. Ooh, now here's a character to explain. Starting off as simply the brother of Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 1, he then would go on to take many different forms throughout the game. Through a whole host of somewhat silly storylines and serious storylines, Liquid Snake, even after defeat, would go on to be a character lived on through Revolver Ocelot. Starting off in the first game, simply your brother born from the genetic experiment Les Enfants Terribles, you have to take on Liquid in all his cunning as your actual equal in the game, which made such a nice change to a lot of games at the time where the hero was always way overpowered compared to the villain. But with those rich and in-depth storylines showing how many skills that Liquid had, and the fact that he could be just as sneaky and stealthy as Snake and fight just as well as he could when it came to being hand-to-hand or using technology, Liquid Snake is definitely one of the most iconic and best gaming villains that has ever been put into a game series.
And if you cross this line, you'll fall. At this height, it'll kill even you.
Pyramid Head, Silent Hill 2. Well, there's not a lot to say with Pyramid Head, but you can sum him up quite simply. He is an iconic character. People know Pyramid Head when they talk about horror games. He has been in hundreds of lists probably to do with games, just simply because he's so simple but so effective. Slowly dragging around a giant weapon ready to crush your head in, whilst going around with a gigantic pyramid shaped box on his head, making nothing but guttural noises, and the odd occasion where he actually engages in some questionable activities with a mannequin. Well, Pyramid Head has become just a symbol of what a horror game bad guy should be. Simple, effective, and absolutely scares the crap out of you.
You'll be fine. Something is coming. You can feel it, can you? We are creeping toward the edge. And there will be a reckoning. That is why we started the project. Because we know what happens next.
Joseph Seed, the father of Far Cry 5. Now, this is what happens when you get a character who is a cult leader, a bit of a lunatic, but they put enough depth into his character that you can actually find yourself being pulled into thinking and questioning what's going on in the game, to what he's saying and what his beliefs are. As Joseph Seed, as the father, acts perfectly in this part, constantly going on the realm of trying to not to kill you or to break you, but to help you and redeem you, as he honestly believes that what he's doing is purifying and saving people from a damaged future. And as you go to the game, his argument through him and through his family becomes almost validating in parts, that you can see he's trying to do a greater good by you and by your people. So it's a very in-depth character, and it works absolutely brilliantly in the game, which I'd expect nothing more from Far Cry, to have this sort of character to provoke your mind and make you have to physically act as well. And obviously the big kicker being, if you play all the way through Far Cry and then play the sequel New Dawn, you actually find out that he was right all along, which just puts the character into even more of a mental twist when you look at the big picture, because was you really the hero then?
I saw when the Lamb opened the first seal, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts say, "Come and see."
Step forward.
And I saw. And behold, it was a white horse. And hell followed with him.
Ganon from the Legend of Zelda series. Now Ganon, also as an alternate form, Ganondorf, has been pretty much in almost every single Legend of Zelda game. The big bad that constantly is the antithesis against Zelda and against Link, the other part of the Triforce. No true Zelda game is complete without Ganon being the bad guy at the end of it, or having some influence in the game in some way. Ganon is simply the other part that makes the games work, and is just as important as Zelda or Link to the entire series. And most people who have played games, especially through the 90s, that knew Ocarina of Time, for etc. on the N64, know Ganon and Ganondorf's character very well. The only male born in 300 years at Gerudo Valley is just a staple of what an awesome bad guy looks like, and makes one of the best gaming villains.
Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus, and take to the sky. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest.
Loveless, Act 1.
You remembered.
How can I not, when you've beaten it into my head?
Yes, in at number 1 we have Sephiroth from the Final Fantasy VII series. Now, Final Fantasies have had so many great bad guys in it, so many great villain characters that developed so well, but I had to go with Sephiroth just because of how strong the following is with the Final Fantasy VII series. He is the most iconic enemy of the Final Fantasy series. easily identifiable by his long white and silver hair, his Masamune, which is a gigantic sword that he carries, and of course that scene where he killed Aerith. Sephiroth is just a character that's known through and through and through the gaming world. Whether you play Final Fantasy or not, everybody is aware of who he is. So, for me, I had to pick him as the number one, as I think this has been a good list of gaming villains. But if you put them all together, this is the one I think people will be drawn to the quickest.
Hero.
Come and try.
So smug. But for how long?
So that's my top 10 best gaming villains list. Well, as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear what you think and who you would have had in the list and who you would have taken out of the list. Who would your number one have been instead? As I know, there's always some debate with this thing, as it is personal choice, and that's what I absolutely love about games. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for joining us back again in the Geek Box. It's been a little bit of a while now, but we're back and rolling and the schedule is in place. So you'll find me there on those dates set in, and you'll find me there on Tuesdays and Saturdays with the videos and all the live streams throughout the week. So please feel free to join us. And if you haven't already, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, drop the video a like. All the support makes all the difference on here. And as always, thanks for watching.